Let's go to healthcare. So the Supreme Court ruled on the Affordable Care Act. It looks like, according to this Democracy Now! Article, they're likely not going to knock it down. Here's what Democracy Now! Said this morning. The Supreme Court heard oral arguments yesterday, Tuesday, on whether to strike down the Affordable Care Act in the middle of the worst pandemic in over a century. The Trump administration backed the case, which was filed by a group of 18 Republican-led states, led by Texas. The states argued the ACA's individual mandate is unconstitutional, and the rest of what they say is Obamacare. It's actually the Affordable Care Act, and it's actually Mitt Romney's plan, should fall with it. The response from the justices suggests a majority of the conservative court does not agree. Here's Brett Kavanaugh, great guy, by the way, Brett Kavanaugh, winner. It does seem fairly clear that the proper remedy would be to sever the mandate provision and leave the rest of the act in place, the provisions regarding pre-existing conditions and the rest. So it looks like, and this goes, here's a very American thing, Lauren, and let me know what you think of this. We go in this cycle where we try to replace bad policy with worse policy. And sometimes it works, or not works, but sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. And then whether it does or doesn't, they tell you that you're the problem because you should be thankful for that bad policy. Hey, the ACA is bad policy, which it is. It's bad policy. Is it better than absolutely nothing? It's better than nothing. Is it better than an anti-healthcare plan, which was what Paul Ryan and the Trump administration came up with the AHCA? Yeah, it's better than that. How amazing is that? They managed to come up with a healthcare plan that was worse than nothing. Like they come out, they're like, we could do nothing, or we could do this thing that's worse. This is a healthcare plan? Yeah. It takes healthcare away from millions of people. Yeah. You're insane.
Talk about failing up. We have these incompetent, useless legislators that I don't know what they do spending their time. And part of me will be really curious to find out, should I ever be elected, but are they just out drinking beer with each other? I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah, I think that's what happens is they go to parties and they're literally elbow rubbing with each other. That's how they say hi, as they rub elbows and tell each other it's really cool how rich the other person is. That's how I view our Senate and a lot of the Supreme Court right now. And it's really frustrating because I'm a proponent of MMT, and I was really lucky to have an advisor during my campaign that was a really good teacher about this. And I think one of the things I like to raise awareness about is the federal government pays for things through congressional appropriations. And when we look at the budget, it's just a wish list. It's the list of things that cumulatively our government gives a shit about. And we are not on it. Those tugboats are on it, and fighter jets are on it, and war, and a tank parade for Donald Trump, but we are not on it. So if we want to pretend that we have a budget that we have to balance, like I do as a human, isn't it really bad that they prioritize that other stupid shit over us? And then whenever you realize that there isn't a budget that you have to make sure we don't spend more than. We spend more than our budget all the time, and there isn't some boogeyman that comes and gets us or does anything weird. Nothing happens. We're doing it right now. We just do it for war. Keep that in mind. We can spend whatever we need to spend to help the American people if Congress approves, which they haven't. So whenever you think about the fact that they're getting all these donations from healthcare, for-profit companies, and the fossil fuel industry, from weapons manufacturers, then you think about the fact that we have a Congress and Senate full of people that would rather keep taking those donations than make sure that you can go to the doctor. Mm-hmm. And this is the knowledge that I have right now. So I might look happy, but this is my angry face because I'm so mad. And that's why I ran.
You have an angry face where you're smiling.
I know.
I'm a little envious. See, I have the opposite. I have the opposite problem of you. I will be happy, but I'll still have like a natural scowl. I don't know why. I mean, I can't do anything about it. It's just what I look like. Whenever I'm reading, I look pissed off. So like, like whenever, especially during like live streams and stuff like that, like if I'm reading, or if I'm like trying to like read someone's comment or whatever, I just have a natural like pissed off look. And I can't, that's just what I look like when I'm reading. And people are like, what's Ron's problem? And I'm like, I can't help. I mean, I'm reading, and this is just what I look like when I read. I can't help it.
Yeah, I have this really inappropriate reaction where like I laugh when I'm angry, and that might be like from my experience as a comedian, or I might have become a comedian because I'm broken in that way. But I always thought it would be really funny to be like sitting across the table from like the likes of Jamie Dimon and being like, "Yeah, we're gonna break you up now. Thanks."
It might be an easier sell that way, and it's probably healthy. I mean, laughing
Yeah.
is very healthy for you. So, I mean, if you just do that all the time, that's pretty. I mean, sometimes I would laugh in like bad situations sometimes because like sometimes nervousness causes me to laugh. Sometimes, and I guess that maybe that's what draws all of us to comedy. I think we're all drawn to comedy because in some way and in some capacity and in some lane, we just crossed an inappropriate line so many times in our lives, and it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't out of malice. It was just because that wasn't aligned to us. We're like, well, that was a joke. I didn't really. So it's like, well, where's a gig where I can just get rewarded for crossing that line as long as I do it in a constructive way? Well, comedy.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, that's the only gig that exists that
Oh
I
my
know of.
gosh,
I
that's
mean,
true.
my wife has
Or
said to me
Congress.
before, or maybe I would argue the problem is you're not rewarded for doing that in Congress. You
That's
should be. In a should world, that would be correct, where it's like, yes, you get rewarded for that. But with the way Congress is, unfortunately, and not even just our entire electoral system, unfortunately, that's not the way it is. Unfortunately, I think if you go that route, you're gonna do the long haul where it's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult to go the Bernie Sanders route in electoral politics. It's just very difficult. That's why, Bernie, it took him a long time to get where he's at. Whereas
yeah.
like when you take Easy Street and you're just like, here's my wine cave. What do you want, donors? There's a reason why Pete Buttigieg is 37 and Bernie Sanders is 78. And they're on the same freaking stage. There's a reason for that. One chose the long road. One chose, and I'm not saying Bernie's perfect or flawless. Of course he isn't. But, he chose to, for the most part, stick to his guns. He's been having the same message for 40 freaking years. He didn't hold back on it. He's lost his share of races because of that. He's won some because of it. He was in the right place at the right time in 2016. And thank goodness for all of us, he did what he did. But, when you choose the long haul like that, it's a lot more difficult. Whereas if you choose, like, let me be a blank suit, you can fail your way up to the presidency.
Yeah.
If you get a once in a century pandemic and your opponent is going to be sitting in the chair when it happens, you can fail your way up to the presidency. We just saw it happen.
Yeah. And it's going to keep happening unless we continue to talk about it. And that's why I'm so appreciative of shows like yours, because you're not afraid to say these things. And I know, like, I ran for Congress, I lost. And then after my race, I had a journalist trying to write some like really bizarre article about how I was like paid to run as like an establishment plant or something. And I was like, you're ridiculous. I actually I kind of treated him like a troll and eventually told him to like never call or text me again. But like this is the
How did this journalist have your number?
So
Or if you don't need to, I mean, you don't have to show that
no,
if you
it's
don't want to.
okay.
I don't know.
No, he originally tweeted at me.
Oh, okay.
So I thought it would be legitimate, and just ended up being a very, very bizarre article that never got written. So
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, it's I can only imagine what you go through running. I mean, I know you and I have talked about it some on mic and off, but I can only imagine. I mean, I applaud you. I think, I mean, I have had like I have had people, and I'm not going to say who because it was like a private conversation, but I've had people that have just looked me in the eye and they have said, Ron, running for office was the worst experience of my life. And I could tell they were not embellishing. So, I mean, I don't know if you can amplify or, I don't know if that matches your experience or not, but like people have said that to me and I could tell they were not embellishing.
Yeah, I think it was both the worst and the best thing I've ever done. Cause like the team that I had and like the support, like I look at like Brand New Congress as like family now. And some of my volunteers I look at as like little sisters, like my brother and stuff like that. And my partner was on the campaign with me, and that was a really cool experience to have together. But people keep asking if I'm going to run again, and I don't know. I would like to eventually, and I know that was not my last run, but I think like 2022, I don't know if I'm going to have my mental health in order. I know what goes into a campaign, especially a grassroots one, and you have to either be super filthy rich or you have to be really, really, really healthy. And at the moment, unfortunately, I would say like from COVID and like unemployment and like everything, and my cat just died. Whenever I think about like putting myself through like a year and a half of like, it's kind of abuse, if I'm being completely honest. Like,
I think that's fair. I mean, I can't agree or disagree with that because I've never experienced it myself. But I mean, from what I have been told by so many people, yeah, I mean, even people that deal with a lot of other crap, you know what I mean? Like people that deal with crap on a daily basis, they still have said, "Oh my God, it was a nightmare."
Yeah. People have a really glamorized version of what it is. And to be honest, I also didn't think it would be what it was. And I think like the reason I would do it again is because of the people that I've met. And I know that like if I start running, I would have pretty much a team in place and we know how to do things better now. But like just knowing what you're up against, like the constant rejection and like how dare you, and journalists trying to smear you. I think like whenever it starts to get personal, when people try to smear you in your personal life, it's like, man, I'm just like a regular person and I'm trying to get a job. Like the first thing that people are going to Google about me, like had that article come out, is like some false bullshit about how I was like paid to run. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I paid to run.
Yeah. No,
It's ridiculous. Anyway, I could go on for a long time, but
well, see, that's why I can never do it. There is enough online footage of me saying enough. I mean, I have said so many times I am against the concept of private property that I will never be able to run for office, at least not in this country. And so, oops. But that's okay.
I mean, who knows? Maybe like 30 years from now, Ron Paul's going to be running for Congress.
Yeah. They'll be like, we're open to this idea now. We're open to this idea. What's Ron have to say? It's not for me. I mean, there's nothing. I applaud the people who do it. It is a lane that needs to be occupied, but I don't. It's not the lane for me. I think I'm better suited for other things, for more activisty type things, for like what I'm doing. I'm just not. I'm not able to kind of put on that suit and speak the language. And I mean, I could fake it, but why have someone who fakes it? Why not have someone who knows how to navigate those waters, who has the patience and the personality to navigate those waters, as opposed to someone who doesn't. This gets back to my natural scowl. That's really what it's all about. I mean, I'd be like, Ron's going to make a speech. And then they're like, Ron, you can't look at the note card at all. Because if you're reading, everyone's just like, why is he pissed? I don't want to vote for this guy. Whereas like you just have that natural, like, well, Lauren's pissed off, but she's smiling. So everyone's just, she's like, we're going to take away all of your power. And they're like, well, she's smiling. I guess this is and then like antitrust legislation that has never been seen before passes because Lauren tricked Jeff Bezos into thinking it was a good thing for him because she was smiling. And now there are no billionaires. Thank you, Lauren.
That's my ultimate dream. Like
mine too.
Yeah. Yeah. And also like I wish more comedians would run for office, because when I watch debates of like the presidential debates and the Democratic primary debates, I wish that more people were willing to say like kind of absurd things, but like stick to their guns. Like talking about the fact that the federal government can spend whatever they want, but they don't spend it on you. And then like somebody's going to come back and be like, oh, but inflation.
Right.
I would love for like some candidate that just doesn't give a shit about what people think to be like, some inflation, read a book.
Well, I think there is a huge demand, an inevitable demand, and this can bring it back to healthcare. There's a huge demand to really break down a lot of preconceived notions. I mean, it looks like the ACA is likely not going to be totally dismantled, according to a lot of the reports out there, including this one from Democracy Now! But I listened to some of the hearing yesterday, I guess because I like pain. And there was this Republican, and I forget who it was, but he was comparing health insurance, to buying a flag and putting it in your yard. And he was making the case that requiring people to get health care is the equivalent of making people buy an American flag and putting it in their yard, because in a capitalistic death cult, everything is a product. He doesn't see healthcare as a human right, as something people need. He sees it as a product to be purchased. And if this guy was speaking and pretty much any other industrialized country in the world, they would think he was batshit insane, which is a fair response. But in the United States, not only is that welcome speech, not only is an elected official making those lunacy analogies, but no one can refute it. No Democrat could refute that. No, at least no one at that hearing could refute that.
But I really want someone to say in response, like, you have brainworms.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like that's so nuts. Where it's just like you're comparing a piece of cloth. How many people? I mean, someone tweeted this when I tweeted that. Someone responded on Twitter and they said, "Gee, how many people died because they didn't have a flag in their yard?" It's just such a bogus analogy, such an insane comparison. But we've accepted this as normal parameters for political thought. And it's like these barriers need to be broken down. And it is starting to happen. To impose a little optimism there, it's starting to happen. You know why? Because 70% of the country, even according to Fox News polls, favor Medicare for all. And here's a fun something from the DSA. Let's take a look at this. The DSA for Medicare for All shared this. And this is something, getting back to the election results, a lesson that we can learn for the positive. Look at this. This graphic really says it all. Democrats who ran on Medicare for All in red districts won. Democrats who ran against Medicare for All in blue districts lost. Clearly, Medicare for All is a winning. Clearly, Medicare for All. See, I look pissed off when I read and then I misread. That's what happens. Medicare for All is a winning issue. Anyone who claims otherwise is more interested in keeping corporate donations rolling than actually winning. Let me repeat that. Dems who ran on Medicare for All in red districts won. Dems who ran against Medicare for All in blue districts, guess what? They lost. Because 70% of the country wants freaking Medicare for All. Even Fox News can't deny that.
I think what's astounding to me every single day is like, instead of explaining what Medicare for All is, I think the Democratic Party kind of balks and they're like, it sounds too scary. But like, rebrand it if you want. I don't care. But the fact that we are the only industrialized country that connects insurance to employment specifically, And whenever you lose your job, which millions and millions of people are right now, you lose your ability to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of a world is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's nuts. And they also, not only do they connect it to your employment, but also in the bigger scheme of things, they connect the concept of healthcare to profit.
Yes.
There has to be a profit
Yes.
motive, which is absolutely morally disgusting and evil beyond comprehension, but is completely, it just makes no sense at all. Like it's completely inefficient. We could not, I mean, we have come up with such an inefficient system where we spend more and get less than every other industrialized country. And all these people who work in the health insurance industry, because, and I'm not begrudging those people, it's not their fault. Like it's their job that they have. They could all be working for a universal system. They could all be employed by a universal system. So that whole argument, like, well, the insurance companies are corrupt, but well, they do employ people. Like, no, all these people could have a job where they're helping orchestrate a universal system. And the difference would be that everyone can go to the doctor. That's the difference. So, I mean, it is so like it's such a no-brainer. And again, I mean, it's another, for instance, of public opinion be damned. 70% of the country wants a certain thing. And you had two people running for president, both who were against it. Donald Trump, Joe Biden, both against Medicare for all. Joe Biden promised he'd veto it. I mean, and then, but here you have on smaller levels, all these candidates are winning because they support it. And the candidates that don't, they're losing.
What I don't understand is, like, who are the people? Like, this is a genuine question. And if you hear this and you're one of them, like, write to me and I would love to talk to you. But, like, who are the people that hear that everyone could have insurance and it wouldn't negatively affect you and your taxes wouldn't go up? And they're like, no.
Yeah, right?
Who is that?
People are sold. And then this was something that the media just repeatedly did that was so criminal, was when they just kept repeating, your taxes will go up a lot, your taxes will go up a lot, your taxes will go up a lot. It was such a I don't want to say red herring, but it was such a it was just blatant misinformation, because it's one of those things where it's just like, well, yeah, technically by definition your taxes will go up because you're going to pay for your health care via your taxes instead of paying an insurance company. So what you're paying overall goes down significantly. But by definition, your taxes would, quote, go up. So it was just a blatant, it was just a blatant misdirection intentionally. Like it was propaganda.
And I think, like, if more of the Democratic Party or Democratic candidates learned about MMT, it's like, your taxes don't even have to go up.
Right.
You don't even have to bill you for Medicare for all. You can just have it. And, we can pay for whatever we want. Should we cut war? Should we cut the military industrial complex? Yep. Not to save money, but because we should. But the thing is that we're reminded all the time, but this propaganda has been so successful that we don't see it this way, is our government doesn't care about us.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I've had this conversation with my friend Jeff, who's a big MMT advocate. Like, we've had this conversation where I've made the case where I'm like, it's still useful to bring up how we are wasting our existing resources, because I'm with you. Yeah, with MMT we can have all these things. But it's still useful to bring up how we are blatantly wasting our existing resources and how inefficient our existing systems are, and how it is just totally a lie to make the case. I mean, even right-wing think tanks have revealed that, yeah, Medicare for all saves money. It just does. It saves money. I mean, that's still a valuable lesson to really, like, impose on people. And our corporate media just so willingly did the opposite. You can't convince me for 1 second that Jake Tapper doesn't understand the concept of, I'm paying $400 a month. I'm just making these numbers up. I'm paying $400 a month to this private insurance company. If we had a government-run universal healthcare system, I'd only be paying $100 a month. So I'm saving $300. My tax bill does technically go up by $100 because I'm paying it via taxes now instead of to a for-profit insurance company. But who cares? There's no way Jake Tapper doesn't understand that. He does. The entire corporate media does. But they sold the lie anyway, hoping enough Americans wouldn't scratch beneath the surface. And they were successful.
Yeah, it works. And like what also is bizarre to me is that we've been conditioned to see what the federal government spends as ours. Like somebody's like, well, I don't want like my taxes being spent on like someone else getting this. You know what I mean? And it's like this, there's this like idea of scarcity of federal money that is so untrue, but it's like part of how our brain works as Americans. Like maybe it happened in public education, I don't know, but like we are like, oh no, that's like my money, and I'm very frugal with my budget, which is the federal budget, which we never stay within anyway.
Well, nobody complains. Well, I shouldn't say nobody, but like, you know, like as far as the corporate realm of conversation is concerned, nobody complains about. I mean, yeah, people will echo those. Well, I don't want. Why should my money go towards someone else's healthcare? Blah 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 blah. Which, first of all, it already does actually. But second of all,
going towards bombing kids.
Exactly. It's like, why does nobody complain about? Gee, why does my tax money? I mean, I've told this story on the show before. When I was in Scotland, I went to like the immigration museum, and they had this pie chart showing where their budget goes, where their government's budget goes. And there was like a shaded portion for arts and education, and a shaded portion for healthcare, and a shaded portion for defense, and a shaded portion for other goods and services. You'll never see anything like that in the United States, because the entire circle would just be war, and then there would just be this near invisible sliver that just said everything else. That would be the pie chart if it was honest.
Yeah.
And no one has a problem with that. Why are my tax dollars going towards bombing people that don't pose a threat to anyone? Why are my tax dollars going towards bombs being dropped on people whose resources we want to exploit?
Yep.
I have a problem with that.
Yep.
People aren't conditioned to think that way.
Yeah, and we also are conditioned to not see Iraqi children as humans.
Yeah.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and